Hi everyone, my name is Hilal Pataci. Today, I will be presenting our research, Information Security Risk Perception and Boundary Changing Behavior of Firms with Professor Ravichandran from Hilal School of Management, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Information security risks, in addition to creating serious vulnerabilities, also have high economic consequences, where each cybersecurity breach incident could cost over $3.86 million. Organizations assess the information security risks that affect its assets and then decide on which approach should be implemented to reduce the likelihood or eventual impacts of information security risks. The main objective of the organization is to identify the causes of the information security risks and their effects, so that the necessary actions to be taken to avoid any harmful effects. Actions that extend information security attack surface increase organizations' information security vulnerabilities. Mergers and acquisitions, alliances, third-party partnerships, and divestitures change organizational boundaries as they also extend and link various parts of the organizations to external parties. While such boundary changing actions provide access to a range of valuable resources of the target company, they could also extend the potential attack surface, leading to increased information security risks. By building on prospect theory, we propose that each organization has a unique information security risk perception that helps to evaluate the effect of information security risks. This awareness leads them to avoid any boundary changing actions that increase their information security vulnerabilities. Given the impact of information security risks on company domains, in this research, we would like to ask the question of how does information security risk perception of an organization shape its boundary changing decision making? How do attainment gap and risk hedging moderate the association between information security risk perception of an organization and its boundary changing decision making? These are critical questions today where we face increased number of cyber attacks on companies. However, the current stage of the research in information security literature is limited to acknowledge the perceived effect of these information security risks on company domains and how this perception is associated with organizations' boundary changing behavior. In this research, our main interest is to investigate the relation between organizations' information security risk perception and organizations' boundary changing behavior. Prospect theory proposes that organisms aim to maximize their utilities by using their perceived reference points to make their judgments on the risks. Risk perception as an individual's assessment of how risky a situation is in terms of probabilistic estimates of situational uncertainty, how controllable that uncertainty is, has been found to be negatively associated with risky decision-making behavior. By building on this, we theorize information security risk perception. Each organization has a unique information security risk perception that helps to evaluate the effects of any information security risk with respect to their target information security protection level. Mergers and acquisitions, alliances, third-party partnerships, and divestitures change organizational boundaries as they also extend and link various parts of the organization to external entities. Therefore, while such boundary changing actions provide access to a range of valuable resources of the target company, they also extend the potential attack surface, leading to increased information security risks. By building on information security literature and prospect theory, we theorize that organizations with broader information security risk perception are proposed to have more awareness for the risks they face, and they are less likely to make decisions that increase their information security vulnerabilities. Boundary changing actions that extend information security attack surface increase the organization's information security vulnerabilities. Therefore, we propose that there is a negative association between an organization's information security risk perception and its boundary changing behavior, such that organizations have broader information security risk perception are expected to do relatively less boundary changing actions such as mergers and acquisitions, divestitures, or any third-party partnerships. Companies with relatively broader information security risk perception need to leverage the perceived effects of information security risks. Risk hedging tools does not only help them to reduce those effects, but also reallocate those risks. The possibility of transferring the risks of their ongoing business activities to other parties for a fixed premium provides a freedom to make use of their powers in other directions. On the other hand, bounded rational decision-making considers aspiration levels, and the difference between actual performance and aspiration level is called attainment discrepancy. Negative attainment discrepancy means performance below aspiration level is found to induce organizations to undertake problematic search. Therefore, organizations with negative attainment discrepancy are expected to be more voluntarily taking risks to compensate the gap. As seen in our research model, we are investigating how information security risk perception of an organization is associated with its boundary changing behavior. Attainment discrepancy moderates this association, such as an organization with positive attainment discrepancy is not expected to take higher risks. On the other hand, an organization with negative attainment discrepancy, as also proposed by prospect theory, is expected to be taking risks. Therefore, we propose that the attainment discrepancy moderates the negative association between information security risk perception and boundary changing behavior. On the other hand, hedging information security risks positively moderates the negative association between information security risk perception and boundary changing behavior, because the organization has an option to transfer the effects of information security risks to third parties through risk hedging. Our hypotheses as follows. Hypothesis 1. Information security risk perception is negatively associated with the firm's boundary changing behavior. Hypothesis 2. Performance attainment discrepancy moderates the effect of information security risk perception on the boundary changing behavior. Hypothesis 3. The level of risk hedging will mitigate the negative effect of information security risk perception on the boundary changing behavior of the firm. Our empirical approach to obtain information security risk spectrum as a proxy for information security risk perception has 5 stages. The first stage was data extraction. We extracted 1A risk factor section from annual statements from 2015 till 2018 of S&P 500 companies. Second stage was using semantic role labeling with natural language processing to extract all risk causes and their effects from the risk factor section. The third stage was identification of information security related risks. We simply search for information security related embeddings among all causes. The fourth stage was clustering the effects of information security risks with sentence BERT. And the fifth stage was creating information security risk spectrum based on the clusters obtained in the fourth stage. As an example, let's assume that we have 2 cybersecurity related sentences from 2 different companies. Sentence 1 discloses 3 different effects of information security risks, while sentence 2 discloses 2 different effects of information security risks. Therefore, company 1 discloses 3 different effects of information security risks, has a broader spectrum, while company 2 has 2 different effects of information security risks. We propose that company 1 has broader information security risk spectrum and it is less likely to do boundary changing transactions. For boundary changing behavior, we count the number of mergers and acquisitions, alliances, third-party partnerships, and divestitures occurred each year. And we obtain this data from the SDC Platinum database and consider it as a count variable. We proxy risk hedging with the ownership of cybersecurity insurance, and we obtain this data from 10K annual statements of S&P 500 companies for the corresponding year. We calculate attainment discrepancy as also suggested by Ayer and Miller in 2008. As it is seen in the above graph, the broadness of information security risk spectrum of S&P 500 companies changed across the years. We identified 2,779 effects throughout the time and used sentence BERT to cluster these effects in 12 categories. In the end, the breadth of cybersecurity spectrum was between 1 to 12, meaning that companies might disclose 1 to 12 different effects of information security risk spectrum in their annual statements. So far, developed an approach to derive a measure of the perceived information security risks from the archival data, developed the information security risk spectrum to assess the potential variations in the potential effects of information security risks, one of the first attempts to use state-of-the-art natural language processing models to derive the effects of information security risks that could also be implemented in other domains for risk analysis.